This is First GenXers.
Poetic beat, poetic beat, poetic beat.
All right. What's up, y'all? Welcome to this week's edition of the Classroom, featuring this week. It is again the trio, the terrific trio, the terrifying trio, however you look at us. It's the one and only Dark Lord 100, OMalley, and Mr. Suave here to talk. Wow, this weekend sports has been a fun one, to say the least. As we all kind of gaze every now and then down to see what the score is with the finals game 7 between the Pacers and the Thunder, who are all tied up at 3-3. So we're going to go on ahead and push that. We normally open with the NBA finals, but this week we're going to open with the story that literally just broke this morning from Shams Charania, I believe his name is, on ESPN. That Kevin Durant, that's right, the Kevin Durant, that dude that can't seem to keep his feet glued in one place for too long, is now moving again to the Houston Rockets. So let's see what the Rockets are giving away. They're giving away Jalen Green, who kind of let them down.
No one wanted Dylan Brooks anyways. Memphis didn't want him. Houston didn't want him. Like, nobody likes him. The fans don't even like him.
Well, say Dylan
that was
Brooks,
a please take him. We'll throw him in for free.
Right. Well, say Dylan Brooks is headed there, and then the number 10 pick in this year's draft.
Didn't they get something like a bunch of second round picks too?
I think
Four
it was
or five.
Four or five. It was 5. Yeah, the number 59 selection this year, 2 in 2026, 1 in 2030, and then 1 in 2032. That's some NBA 2K
well,
shit.
The way that they play, they're going to need all of them.
Well, I just think it's nice. I just think it's interesting that the Suns are adding to what is already Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. They're adding Jalen Green. They're adding Dylan Brooks, which gives them some defensive, just a little bit of defensive credibility. He's okay on the defensive side of the ball. But that number 10 pick, do they flip that for another player? Or do they, or is that something that they carry and actually draft a player? Like, is this year's draft that deep to where that number 10 pick could bring them in another superstar player, maybe a center, to replace DeAndre Ayton, who they gave away for a bag of chips?
I don't know, but did anybody have this on their bingo card? Like KD going to Houston? Was that on anybody's radar?
I mean, that was one of the 3 teams he had on his selection. Between it was them, the Spurs, and I forget who the third team was, but the Spurs and the Rockets were the
Knicks.
Knicks. It was the Knicks.
And the Knicks came out right and said, "Nah, we ain't interested. Sorry."
Maybe you should have came to us instead of Brooklyn first, and that would have been a different story. But that's not what happened.
But yeah, 100%. Like, I don't know. Like we talked about a little bit off air. This now solidifies that Houston has had all of Oklahoma City's big 3. in there. Maybe they can actually win a championship with this one. We'll see. They couldn't do it with Russell Westbrook.
I don't think that Durant, and I'm not saying that he doesn't still have a lot in his tank, but he's not on that trajectory of his career anymore at this point. And, you know, I think he had an opportunity to make things happen in Phoenix, and he didn't.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, when you look at the Houston
real quick,
team,
pause. Swab, real quick. Saints says, Saints in the chat room says, good evening, everybody. Wants to hear some OMalley for sure. Says, good to see you, Swab. Just letting y'all know that. But go on, Swab.
so I think Houston's real young. This could help or hinder the team because you want Sanguine and you want Amir to really kind of blossom and flourish as the 1 and 2, but now you bring in KD, who is definitely going to be the number 1 option. That's why he's willing to go there. He also wants the credit if he's able to uplift that team over the next season or two in the title contention. And I don't know. This could help them. This could be enough. He can still go out there and get you 25 points a game as long as he's not taken away from Sanguine and Amir's game. You know, that could be real beneficial. But there's also the other spot of it where now he's going to be the man. Amir's going to have to take the back seat and be the second option. Sanguine's going to have to be the third option. These guys were literally 1A and 1B last year for that Rockets team. So them taking a step back, I don't know how that affects their future per se. You know, it could be a good thing, showing them how to play with another star, because Houston definitely has the assets to try to go out there and try and get somebody else after KD's finished with his run. So, it could be a good thing, but it could also blow up.
It could, on the flip of that, it could tank their morale. Like, we just did this for you guys, and instead of getting us supportive characters, right? You just got a whole other leading man. And we're not having that. Because I don't see KD being one that takes a backseat, that takes any of that. It's not, and I'm not comparing him to LeBron by no means, but he's one that when his career is done, it needs to be done. I don't think that he does well in a supporting role, which is why he did well at Golden State, because you had another player on that team who has no problem, even though he's the star of the team, not being the star of the team.
And I think that's why he didn't come back.
KD's mentality. Exactly. Yeah. And that's just, well, also I think that especially had he gone back and they managed to make it all the way, like that just actually does more detriment to his legacy. Yeah. Because right now the legacy is still, you had to go to Golden State to get your championship.
Well, and I want, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I'm kind of over these players and their egos of worrying about what everybody's saying. Like, you're grown ass men. Stop worrying about what people talk about. Like, exactly. Like, go out and play on the court, do your thing, leave every bit of energy that you have out there on the court, and let your career resume speak for itself. Don't worry about where people rank you. Don't worry about whether or not people have you in the top 10, people have you in the top 25, people have you in the top 50. Don't worry about that shit. Like, just go play basketball. And when your career's done, it's done. And you can, if you can look back and say you had fun over those 15, 17, 12, 13 years, however long you played, then it was worth it. Like, but you know, like, you don't write your legacy, no matter how hard you try to control the narrative. You and LeBron's gonna learn that one the hard way. You don't write your legacy. The people that watch you play do.
The harder you try to control the narrative and the harder you try to write your own narrative, legacy, all of that, the more it actually goes in the opposite direction versus let your play speak for itself. Go out there and, like you said, leave it all out on the court. Let your play be the talk. It's why we've heard me talk all the time is like, I appreciate the players who aren't always in the news for stupid shit. Right? Because the only thing I want to hear about you is about your basketball, about your baseball, about your football, not the crying that you're doing to the referees, not your personal business all over the place. None of that. I don't give two halves a shit about that, and I respect the ones who are so focused on their game that is where you see it.
Right. Yeah.
So I do think he's got a chip on his shoulder. Unfortunately, he's kind of the one that put the chip on his shoulder.
Yes. Yes. And here's the thing about it. I don't think people talk about him the way that they're talking about him now if he stands 10 toes down on the Golden State situation. Like, instead of automatically bolting because, he wasn't getting the rub he wanted from being there, it's like, dude, just if you stand 10 toes down on this decision, they will have because you'll have so many championships, you will be undeniable. Mm-hmm. You will be undeniable.
Like, own it. How does anyone pass up the opportunity to go and play with that squad? Regardless of championship, regardless of any of that. But the players themselves on that squad, from their personality to their playing on and off the court, who passes up going and playing with any one of them? Really?
And so it was just like, bro, you made, like she said, you made your career legacy not necessarily look worse, but feel worse by running away from something that
he's the one with the issue, not everyone else. That's the part, and he's projecting.
But now he lands himself in Houston, looking to try to make ends meet. I think if the Warriors can get a big, if they do end up meeting them in the playoffs next year, that could be an interesting series.
He's also got to stay
Butler
healthy.
on KD. Yeah, true. That's the big thing there. But Jimmy Butler on KD. Any final thoughts on Durant to the Rockets, Steve?
Honestly, I think it's a good move for the Rockets. They're trying to get in a big dog, but it could backfire. We'll have to see how the season goes. Is KD willing to take a step back and kind of mentor Amir, who could really kind of emulate his game with a little bit better defense? Can he get the other guys? Can he include them in the offense that they want to run, and keep them invested in the season so that way they don't take a step back? I mean, there's a lot of nuance coming for the Rockets this year, and they might just find out that adding KD wasn't as rosy as it was for, say, the Warriors.
Yeah, very much so. There is a history with him and Udoka from Udoka's time as a team manager, for the Nets. Yeah. So, all right. So next, why did I just put that back up? There we go. The next subject is, what would you do if you had $10 billion? Evidently, this
Fire
guy...
Genie Bus after I bought the team. Sorry. That's if my dude had $10 billion, what he would do with it. Because, man, we've had this talk before. I was excited to share this news with him, with the caveat that she is still going to be the governor of the team, which why sell it then? Because she is part of the fucking problem. Her, Rob Pelinka, freaking JJ Redick, just scrap the whole fucking team. Scrap the front office, come in and just wreck house. Get rid of, sell Luka, send LeBron back to Cleveland, freaking, and then start building. Austin can stay. Let him stay. He can stay, and then start building
around him, huh?
Like they were starting to do prior to bringing LeBron into the mix, where then they just got rid of all their young, good players who've been excelling at all the teams that they've gone to.
Very true. Very true. All right. So it's like this. I've been seeing a lot of, this is better for the NBA and for the Lakers than what you know. And I agree with my thought process. I agree through my thought process with OMalley that I think they're going to find it kind of hard to change the culture when you don't start by wiping out. And don't get me wrong, I can understand that as Jeannie Buss herself, I would want, if I'm going to sell my part of the team, the majority stock in the team, I'm going to ask to stay in my position. I don't fault her for asking. I fault them for folding. But
I don't think it lasts long, to be honest.
And that's the thing about it, because she's a very She was very like, don't want to spend money. But this guy that bought the Lakers he's the same guy that was at the head of the conglomerate that bought the Dodgers a few years back and turned them into the, going to multi-world series, all-star team type, type team.
Also, the
and he's
difference is they
money.
had the money to spend versus the Lakers ownership under Jeannie Buss does not have Dodgers ownership type of money.
Right.
And also, they aren't dealing with the cap, the luxury tax, and the multiplier of the luxury tax now, which is way different than baseball. Baseball, you can spend whatever, and if you got the money, and if you pull an Otani, you can defer all of it. But
there you go. That was the biggest thing for them.
But yeah, man, I was talking to a guy, and this is gonna be random, at Walmart when the news broke about the Lakers selling, and I looked at him and I'm like, dude just had $10 billion. Just him and a group of friends had $10 billion that was just burning a hole in their pocket and said, hey, let's buy the Lakers. Like really though? Like him and a couple of homies just had 10 billion lying around. And that's just insane considering when you think
that 1 million that they've donated to help immigrants in Los Angeles doesn't feel very big in comparison, does it?
Well, say who was it? The Buss family purchased the Lakers for 67 million, and I believe 79.
Yeah.
Are there capital gains on sports franchises?
I don't know.
That's a good question.
Wow.
That's
Like
some craziness.
I'll be honest with you. The first sale of a team in which that kind of hit me was, and I don't like mentioning this name on the show, but I have Donald Sterling. The fact that bought the Clippers originally for under $1 million and they sold to Steve Ballmer for $2 billion. You know what I'm saying? Like, really? $2 billion? I was just like, wow, like that's almost as big of a scam as selling alcohol at a bar. Like a lot of people don't understand it. Like the bar is the most profitable area because you buy a bottle of alcohol for like $40 and it has like 10 shots in it, 10, 15 shots, and you sell those shots off at $5 a piece. You end up making like $6. It's like one of the largest profit margins.
Yeah, 10 for the Hennessy, I'm just saying.
15 for some of that King Louis, they ain't 15 80 for that. But anyway, let's stop for a moment real quick. Saint said happy 10th anniversary to OMalley. It's been a decade since American River. He said he still owe you a tier 3. He said appreciate you. He salutes you. Thanks for tapping in there. Bud. So, but yeah. So, I don't know. Like, I don't see this as something. I don't see this sale as something in which there's going to be instant impact. Like, I don't think all of a sudden the Lakers are going to like sign all these massive free agents next year and become this. But I can see a culture shift over a few years as they get rid of key people and replace them with new people. Kind of like what they did. I'm not talking about Jeannie Buss specifically. I'm just talking about maybe potentially people like Rob Pelinka. You don't see him going anywhere? You don't think Walter can pull it off?
The salary cap will hinder that team forever like it does every other great team in the NBA.
But it didn't hinder the Warriors from ending up pulling up and
yes, it did. The Warriors fought tooth and nail to get out of that luxury tax, the what is it? The multiplier tax, where for every dollar they were over, they were getting charged like $2 or $3. So it was like going to cost them an extra like $200 million. And here's the rub. The money that they're spending on the Dodgers is finally starting to bring back championships. They've gotten 2. If the Lakers don't bring back...
One doesn't count, though. Only one of those counts. Just like the 2020 Lakers championship. So my dude is both a Lakers and a Dodgers fan, and he will tell you the same fucking thing. It doesn't count if you don't get a parade.
And I feel that. But if the Lakers can't get a title in the next 5 or 6, 7 years, how many of those years will they want to spend at the second and third level of the apron? It's different in baseball.
Yeah, but I still see that there's still a lot of room to work with. there's still at least one more max player you can bring in not underneath that apron, but to the point where that apron is acceptable. And the only reason why I say that is because you look at that Warrior squad that ended up bringing in KD. Joe Lacob was willing to spend that money and go into that level of the tax because of what he was making.
Yeah.
And especially once they moved to San Francisco.
True. Here's the other part of that. Even like using the Warriors as an example. Yeah. That 2015 team, that 2016 team, we didn't buy any players.
Right.
We developed players. So is what the Lakers really need to do now that we've got new ownership, or they've got new ownership, is come in and freaking clean house and start over, because you're piecemealing everything together right now. And I'd get rid of Luka, especially if he comes back at almost 300 pounds in October, right? Like, then you definitely got to go. Because clearly, like, these are choices you're making, too. Right. So, and maybe those trade for picks, trade for younger players that you can develop and build around some longevity, because, and this is something that my dude and I talk about constantly, and why he gets so pissed off, especially about the LeBron show. You don't see the Celtics doing shit like that. You don't see the Knicks really doing shit like that. The Lakers is one of those types of franchises. This is something that teams who won 0, 1, 2 championships 30 years ago do, right? Not a team, not a franchise, not a storied franchise who has championship after championship after championship. This is not the moves that kind of team makes. These are moves that Jeannie Buss and her fangirling bullshit make.
I can feel you. I can definitely agree with you there. Like, this Lakers franchise is not my daddy's Lakers franchise. Like, my daddy wasn't a fan, but it definitely ain't. When the Buss family first took over, like, they turned the Lakers into something. And
can
that's
somebody
what
please do something? I'm sick of hearing my dude freaking cry about it and root for other teams because he refuses to root for the Lakers, and I threw him under the bus and actually told somebody at one point he cheered on the Celtics against them this season.
Wow.
That's how bad it is. And here's the thing, he's not the only
like me cheering on the Lakers.
Right, exactly. But that's how deeply it has disturbed him. Is that as long as that man is on that team, they're not going to go to the championship. Yeah. They're not. It's not going to happen.
Well, here's the thing about it. To an extent, you're 100%, or not to an extent, but you are 100% right. But less because he's not as good as he used to be, and more so just because the West has gotten too good around them. I'm sorry, teams like Oklahoma City, Denver, they're getting older, but they're not 40. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's at this point.
And he refuses to take a back seat too. Yep. And that's the problem in itself. If you're willing to move from being a leader to the bench or take a more back seat, help develop players, play 12 minutes instead of 40. Like, that's what, there is absolutely zero reason on this planet that he should have been playing the minutes that he was playing. And then, JJ Redick got all butthurt when asked about it. And, are you saying that, I'm inexperienced? Yes, everyone is saying you're inexperienced. Own it.
Yeah. And here's the thing with LeBron. My pitch to LeBron would have been simple as this. I'm gonna play you.
Tell your son to play one more year of college. That's my pitch.
I will play you 28 minutes a game. I'll play you 6 minutes a quarter for the first 3 quarters, and then 10 minutes in the final quarter. That way you can be in there when you want to be in there, but you can set your ego aside and let your team do its work in the first 3 quarters. Would he go for it? Probably not. He'd probably laugh me out the building. But that's because, as I'll touch on a little bit later when we talk some more about it, players' egos are really running amok in today's NBA, and LeBron's ego is one of those egos that's
If it
running
was
amok.
football, we'd be talking about their egos are the 12th man. Really,
Yeah, like
they're the
just
sixth
real
player.
talk. Like love to do like the guy. Anyway, we'll get into it later. But
He just dipped. He said, "Peace out. I'm sick of both of you."
Right?
I don't know how that works when he's the one.
hello, sorry about that. I disappeared. That brings us to hey, bye. Anyway, that brings us to one last subject about that man we know as LeBron. And he was on his podcast, which he has every right to be on his podcast. Nobody's showing him there. But he was on his podcast and decided to discuss ring culture. And decided to go off on this diatribe about how he doesn't understand why rings are such an end-all, be-all for everybody. And that just because players like Charles Barkley and John Stockton and Karl Malone doesn't have rings doesn't make them not great players. You know what, Swab? You haven't said anything in a minute. I'll let you kick us off with your thoughts on LeBron and his comments on ring culture. I'm pretty sure you've seen the video a bunch of times. Facebook, Instagram, etc.
It's like OMalley was saying, he's trying to drive the narrative. So now that he can say, well, I was only 4-6 in finals, so I should still be considered the greatest of all time. But I'm sorry, you don't control that narrative. And no one ever said Stockton, Barkley, Malone weren't great. They're still all timers. But he knew going into this that his legacy was going to be defined by how many rings he got. And at some point in those first 4 seasons, because he built the plan for Miami after his 4th year when he signed his 3-year extension, and Wade and Bosh signed their 3-year extensions to match him. So he built that plan 4 years in, figuring he couldn't win it in Cleveland. And he was going to go somewhere where he could run off a bunch of rings and do something no other player had ever done before, which was team up with people in the beginning of his prime. So, I mean, he is not allowed to control the narrative to try to be the GOAT and to give his fans excuses on why he ought to be the GOAT, when honestly, what he did at the time was, while it good for players, hurt the league and the image of the league, because ever since it's been all team ups. And more often, we haven't seen it yet because more guys are under contract. The league did do some things to try to get more max contracts out there, so that way players would actually want to stay for more money. You see what happened to Luka? He got traded. Now he can't collect an extra $100 million on his next contract because they no longer can super max him. So I mean, I understand what LeBron's trying to do. I don't agree with it because no one's ever said that those ringless players weren't great, but they definitely are on the bottom rung when you start talking about all-time ranks. And the only way that they climb those ranks is when you start talking positional ranking. John Stockton, top 3, top 4, top 5 point guard of all time. Barkley, top 3, top 4 small forward of all time. Malone, top 3, top 4, top 5 power forward of all time.
If not
But
number
when you
one, no,
start
no,
looking at the
number
top
two,
10, yeah,
maximum.
the top 10 guys, maybe even the top 15, they've all got rings. So at least one. There's I don't think I've ever heard of anybody with a top 10 list that doesn't have, or that has somebody on it that doesn't have a ring.
Yep. And 100%. Like, yep. And the thing with it is, and I was saying this, there's two things that for me, and we've gone over this before. You guys know my one rule about the GOAT debate, in the fact that I've always said, in order to surpass Jordan, you at minimum have to match what he's done in his career. Period.
In the time he did it in. I'm going to throw
Right.
that in there. In
Right.
the time that he did it in.
And don't get me wrong, I understand that that the league is harder to do. It's harder to do those things in now, but that's what would make it even more impressive than when Jordan did it. Is if somebody were to do it in a more difficult league like it is now, in a more athletic league now. It's not impossible. They just want us to believe it's impossible, so that way it makes up for why LeBron never did it.
Because even here's the thing, because I hear a lot this argument about basketball now, basketball then. That argument's been going on for decades. Over periods of time. They said the same thing when Jordan was playing. Well, basketball now isn't like basketball then. And it's like, okay, well, they were also wearing hoochie daddy shorts and their nuts were hanging out and all of that. Okay. So yes, it's not the same. It evolves. Right. Just like we're in the midst, I think, of seeing the game evolve again to the thanks, I think, of like Charles Barkley and other people who say that the Warriors and small ball destroyed basketball, right? Yeah. But, we talk about this all the time. First of all, like the GOAT doesn't have to say he's the GOAT first and foremost. Yeah. Back to the play speaks for itself. But just like Kobe said when people would ask who the GOAT was, and he would always jokingly say himself first and follow it up with, without Jordan, there wouldn't have been a Kobe. Right? It was Jordan and Jordan's play and how these players, and the same thing can be said for LeBron. Without Jordan, there wouldn't have been a LeBron. And so, and yeah, LeBron's done a lot and he's won some rings and he's 40 years old and a dinosaur and still playing. And like that is at some point people are going to start being like, y'all need to test him for something because he shouldn't be playing anymore. But I'm still going to go with 4-6. Jordan was 6-0. 4-6, 6-0. I don't care that you've been to 10 championships. You're not even 500 in your 10 championships.
At least with 5 and 5, I can work with you.
And one of those 4 should have been a loss.
Yeah, and to double dip on it, I mean, when you start looking at his record, he fast tracked all of his finals. He didn't stay through all of the hard times. That's what I like about what Jordan went through. The Pistons, the Lakers, and then having to beat the Suns, who had to turn around with Barkley, and had to beat Utah twice, and the Sonics with Peyton and Kemp. Jordan overcame a lot to get to 6-0, and he couldn't even match that fast tracking his title chips.
Yeah. Well, even look at what Kobe did in the finals. Like, that wasn't an easy feat either, especially when you're talking about literally not a lot of teams play a finals against their supreme rival even more than once or more than that, and so there's been a lot of orchestrating and puppeteering in LeBron's career to even have gotten him to where he is and where he's won. And it's been more about the people around him than it's actually been about him. And to me, that's been clear by the fact that he wasn't able to do it without those people around him.
Well, and here's a couple of final points on what he said. I was asking Swab this the other day. I was talking to Swab and asked him, LeBron lost me with the ring culture stuff because of this. In 2016, after winning that title, I believe the exact quote was, "I believe this title makes me the greatest to ever play." If championships don't elevate one player over another, if championships aren't the end-all be-all, then how did one championship that you won in 2016 make you the greatest ever? And how can you utter that and then months and then years later go, I don't understand why people think rings are so important. Like, it seems it's definitely very hypocritical.
If championships and rings weren't so important, I'll take it a step further than that and take it farther back than that. If championships and rings weren't important, you wouldn't have orchestrated the move to Miami the way that you did. Period. You would have stayed and stuck it out in Cleveland. And honestly, my thoughts and feelings about where you stand in the GOAT category, had you won in Cleveland before going to Miami, would have been much different.
Yes. And added on top of that, not only did you not want to go through it with Cleveland, you get to Miami, you have your ring run. Riley doesn't listen to how you want the team ran or the players you want brought in. So you jump back to Cleveland after they look into 3 number 1 overall picks in a row, or 3 out of 4 years. And then you leave them again because you get lucky and get the 1 title. And then you leave to go to LA.
Your entire career, not, and this is going to sound weird because you would say, duh, Doug, like, of course, but your whole career has been about you.
Yeah.
It's never been about truly wanting to, like, I think even the Cleveland thing, even the winning the title for Cleveland thing was about him. He wanted his name on that marker as being the person that brought a title to Cleveland for the first time in like 50 years. He wanted that. That's why he made the move back to Cleveland. Every single move that he has made in basketball has been made for selfish reasons. And that brings me to kind of the closeout part of this, which is what I was talking to you guys about earlier, about these players today and their egos and how a lot of them, not just LeBron James, are consistently trying to control the narrative around their careers. And it's like, guys, I hate to sound corny, but go watch Hamilton where you learn you don't write your story. Somebody else does. The people who knew you, the people who interacted with you, the people that were around you, those are the people that write your story. So not you. So stop trying to control the narrative. Please stop. Because it's obvious to, especially the older fans, because we're not used to watching. It irritates the shit out of us because we're not used to watching players. We're used to watching players just leave it all out there on the field. Jordan didn't really have an issue with anything they said about him in the media until they started talking about his dad and the gambling issues, until they started getting super personal with the shit. And you can't even compare the Bronny situation with that because you brought your son into this. You can't be mad
like
when
it
they
was
critique
bring
him.
your kid to work day.
You know what I'm saying? You brought him in. So you can't even be mad at the media for critiquing him and critiquing his game. And yes, critiquing you as a father for letting him be here at this point. So that's all expected. What they did to Jordan was outright wrong. Like in any way as a media personality insinuating that somebody killed their own father, unless you have hardcore proof, even insinuating some shit like that that's just wrong. But Stephen A saying LeBron is a bad dad because he didn't protect Bronny and keep him in college or let that boy stay in the G League is not crossing a line. That's not. And so it just shows
that was the door you opened when you did what you did. And you opened that door. When the rest of us were just like, encourage him to play another year. Maybe we would have been singing a different tune if he had played his entire season, but he didn't even play an entire season.
Yeah.
And also, I look at it from this angle. I think another way where LeBron kind of set Bronny up for this, and I know people are going to hate me when I say this, he should have let him get drafted wherever the hell he got drafted. And if that happened to be the Lakers, cool. But he should have let him get drafted wherever the hell he got drafted.
I mean, technically he did. I mean, they used a 2nd-round pick on him, so technically he got drafted where he's supposed to get drafted.
No.
We've all heard Bronny James.
He should have been a UDA, sir. He should have been a UDA.
No, we all heard the story about Rob Pelinka calling all the other teams and saying, don't draft Bronny because he ain't going to sign with you. He'll only sign with the Lakers. So no, LeBron orchestrated that shit. He should have just let whoever drafted his son draft his son. And if he wanted to play with his son, go there. But if not, let his son become whatever player he's going to become under whoever's tutelage without his daddy being involved for probably the first time in his life dating back beyond AAU. So this man, I hate people who stab themselves in the heart and then cry victim. Why'd you do this to me? And that's LeBron's entire career.
Exactly. Don't douse yourself in freaking lighter fluid and light a match and then cry to me that you lit yourself on fire. Like, what did you think was going to happen? Did you not think this out very clearly?
All right.
Apparently not. Or you just have drank your own Kool-Aid so much that you just cannot fathom anyone else thinking differently than you do about yourself. We call that narcissism, folks.
Almost textbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So it's nothing. Right. We've talked about this too, because this is LeBron as a basketball player. We're not talking about him in any other context, even though we have talked about his being a father and his parenting a little bit. But again, that is still very much in the basketball context.
Right.
Like, we're not attacking his character. We're not doing any of that.
Ronnie seems like
because I know some of you weirdos get your panties all up in a bunch anytime somebody just dares to question the validity of his greatness. And y'all can go drink. I don't know what LeBron flavored Kool-Aid tastes like, but it tastes salty. So y'all can just go have that on your own.
The part that always and will always get me as we wrap this portion of the show up is the crying victim. The people are always doubting me. Really? 75% of what I see online is positive about you.
And the hypocrisy.
Defending you from people is people defending you from people that don't exist. Who is this they that always say?
He was King James before he stepped foot on an NBA court. Give me a break.
Right. I mean, this reminds me of unfortunately, he was a king in his own mind, and King James before he ever stepped on a court, just like a Mr. Legendary tried to be a legend before ever stepping foot on an NFL field, right? Like, there are some times, folks, where your ego gets in the way, especially when you haven't lived up to it. I'm not saying that LeBron hasn't earned some of the ego now, right? Yeah. But this is the mentality that you had even coming in. And it is one thing to be confident and all of that. And I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. You do need to have confidence. But humility goes a long way. Some humbleness goes a long way. Recognizing when your time is over goes a long way. And it goes a long way in not giving fuel to the people who you call your haters, right? Like, you fuel this. Your attitude fuels this. I have never once, even with some ridiculous questions, never once seen Steph get out of pocket with any member of the media or during any press conference or during anything like that. You cannot say that about LeBron. And for doing their job, he's like Caroline Leavitt behind the White House freaking press pulpit when he is not happy with the question that he gets from the press. He's a dick. He is a dick to the press when it's like he thinks that they've got the audacity to actually ask him a legitimate question. But when you take all the credit when you win, but deflect all of the blame when you lose, first of all, the math ain't mathing on that. That doesn't make any kind of sense. But expect for people throughout the course of history to call you on that. Period.
Amen. All right, so we're going to pause right there, take this quick commercial break, and then we'll run it back with a little bit more NBA talk, just looking at next year's early favorites. And then we got a couple of NFL stories before we close it out. For those of you that are joining us, thank you for joining us, Saint and others, right here on the Classroom, featuring OMalley and Suave. I am Dark Lord 100, and we'll be back right after this break. Peace.
This is now versus then. This is now versus then. Get on your mark, let's go. This is now versus then. Burning up your radio, still turning up the heat with Poetic on the flow. Got you moving to the beats with the Saint as your host. Shout out the collective, hold it down, we gon' clown, that's the lesson. Where Generation X meets Generation Next, with them bangers from the east to the south to the west. Yeah, this how we do it in Sacktown. Slide to the studio, yup, it goes down. These beats gon' pound, waking the game up, told you it goes down. And this is only the intro. Turn the mics on, shout out to my kinfo. Where you at, y'all? Let's get this started. Turn down for what? We about to start the party. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. This is now versus then. This is now versus then. This is now versus then. This is now versus then.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But the definition of beauty is distorted. Yeah. Come on. Searching for yourself, so insecure about the way you look, so you go to Miami. You can't find the love within yourself.
There we go. All right. We're going to give OMalley a chance to get back with us. Oh, Swab went away too. There it is. All right. So, yeah, man, like looking at next year based off of these, give me one or two people or one or two teams that you think, especially after this Kevin Durant trade, might be the early favorites going in the 2026 season.
I think you're going to have Indiana and OKC at the very top, followed by Houston and probably the Knicks in the East to be with Indiana. Boston, if they were healthy, I might have them above Indiana and then Indiana below them. But since they won't have their guy Tatum for the entirety of all next year, it's pretty much a wrap that they're going to have a down season. So,
yeah, I can see that. The Bleacher Report, our FanDuel Sportsbook, as of right now, the updated odds with Durant going to the Rockets are Oklahoma City at a plus 220, Houston actually tied with Cleveland Cavaliers at a plus 900.
I forgot about Cleveland. Yeah.
The Knicks sitting solidly at number 4 with a plus 1,000. The Pacers right behind them at plus 1,300. The Timberwolves.
Yeah, but when was that done? Because was that done before tonight's game? Because I think the Pacers are going to be in the same boat as the Celtics. Unfortunately, at least the news reports that are coming out from Halliburton's dad.
This was put out today, but
came out about 20 minutes ago and confirmed it's his Achilles.
Yeah, the way it looks,
which is what I figured it was too.
Yeah.
And if you watched it in slow motion, you could see the pop in the release.
Yeah.
I hate that.
And
I
that's
was just
becoming an
talking.
epidemic.
And
but
that
they'll
was
figure it out.
all we talked about concerns too, like and I was concerned about, and I said the other night after he suffered more of that calf injury, is like this is like real Durant reminiscent here,
Mhm.
folks.
Mhm.
And luckily the other night he only had to play 26, 29 minutes because of their
Yeah.
blowout, but I mean I was fairly certain that it was his Achilles. If not, he tore his calf muscles. But he couldn't put any kind of pressure on it. It kind of dangled when they were walking him back. So, I mean, I feel like the Pacers may now be in the same boat as the Celtics with that,
I
unfortunately.
tell you what, all them Pacer fans gonna be feeling just like Warrior fans back with Toronto. Because when that leg went out and he went down, they was way in that game, and they're still in this game right now, down double digits. But they're gonna have the what ifs. Well, if we had Halliburton, we would have won the title. It's
And
gonna be a rough one for Pacer fans tonight.
Well, and I was talking to my mom about it earlier, right after it happened, because they were still, and I mean, at one point, Indiana still came back a couple of times to be in the lead, and I said, "What's worse? Like, not? I mean, is it? What happens? Your team wins. Like, how do you feel about? That's like conflicting feelings. Like, I'm mad I wasn't out there, but I think it's pretty cool that my team kind of held it together and won it, because it wouldn't make him any less a part of the championship. It
Right.
just it sucks as an athlete, as somebody who competed myself and had injuries and was forced to stand up on stage with my arm in a sling and a splint while my team competed. Like, that's painful. You put all of that time and energy into something,
training,
and to have that happen, and to have it happen when in the game that it happened. So
he was hot too at 3 for 4 from the
He
3-point
been
line.
playing all season with that chip on his shoulder. When they ran that report saying he wasn't a star player or wasn't a top player, he's been playing with that chip. So I think honestly, it might have hurt him a little if they had actually pulled this off and everybody had stepped up and won this title without him, because then he'd have a whole nother season of the same talk and the same chip on his
they
shoulder.
didn't need you to win. They didn't need you.
Yeah, we
Mind
did it
you,
without
it is
you.
a 7-game series. Clearly, that's not the case. But
And without him, that wouldn't be a 7-game series. To be honest with you, there would never been a 7-game series without him.
It might
that
not
shot
even
he hit in game 1.
6-game series either. So,
but man, just like we said, man, speedy recovery, bro. Like, wow.
Him and Tatum, those are big losses for the league.
Those are huge losses. Losses that impacted their moving on.
Yeah.
Like,
now,
I mean, Boston and Indiana
we're
might not make the playoffs next year.
We're talking like an entire season out type of injury too. We're not talking like, okay, he's gonna be out like 6 months. No. We're not. Durant didn't play that entire year. That year he got traded. He got traded knowing he wasn't gonna be playing for a full season.
Yeah.
So
let's say, and now as I look at the odds, I'm kind of insulted, because, well, I can see why from the bookie standpoint. They got the Lakers at plus 1,600, and there's 2 steps above the Warriors, who are tied with the Spurs at plus 2,700. Like, that's what got
our
me.
Series. If they win that second round series, if Steph doesn't get hurt, our odds are probably better for next year. Hell, we might be in this finals right now, but that's the bookie's job. I might try and make some money off of that one.
But I also feel with that, like, I feel like the Spurs may be a little high, like, on that list, especially given the fact, like, are y'all taking into consideration there's no more Pop next year? Like, how
there's going to be a transition.
What does the team look like without that man?
Yeah. And wasn't Wemby out like most of the second part of this year?
Yeah, that's why they're drafting in the top 3.
Yeah. So it's just like, don't get me wrong.
Well,
whoever takes over
they
that job
haven't been the same since Kawhi left.
Yeah.
they're going to have a lot of talent to work with, for sure. But wow. Oh, before we jump to the NFL, there's one more thing I want to talk to you about. I don't know if either of you guys got to see it, but the clip of Tracy McGrady. And don't get me wrong, I kind of believe they were having the discussion about LeBron and ring culture on First Take from the Fanatics Fan Fest. And Tracy McGrady gets up there and he talks about how, like, basically, like, it can be interpreted that he was saying that he was just as good as Kobe. The only difference was Kobe went to a better team, so he won more championships.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
No, because even Kobe said that T-Mac was one of the few players at his height that had the exact same skill as him. And let's be real, if Grant Hill doesn't get injured and goes to the Magic and they were able to get Tim Duncan, who was going to go to the Magic for a minute, and go away from the Spurs, I mean, that team with that trio, they might have been able to pull it off. But
didn't he
sometimes
play
it's
on
the
the
luck of
Houston
where you
team
go.
with Yao Ming? But didn't he play on the Houston team with Yao Ming?
Yeah,
like,
but
that
Yao
man's
was hurt
had
a
some
lot.
talent.
Yao was hurt a lot, and they faced the Spurs, they faced the Lakers. So I mean, the choice of where he ended up a couple of times, kind of hurt his career.
Yeah. It just blows my mind because I'm just like, dude, like, I don't know. I don't know if he's able to win a title with Shaq the way that Kobe was. Like,
he was a bad man.
Oh, I'm not saying because he wasn't talented enough. I'm just saying I think there are certain players that have specific chemistry. Like you can say, oh, Jordan didn't win nothing without Pippen, but I don't think Pippen reaches 6 championships or 6 finals in his entire career if he never plays with Jordan.
Well, his ex-wife may have also never married Jordan's son either. So,
hey, but like, I'm just saying, like, I think there are certain players that have great chemistry together. And I think Kobe and Shaq were one of them. And I think the chemistry is not necessarily the same. I think on paper, the skill set, Tracy McGrady and Shaq, yes, championship skill set. But does that mean that Tracy McGrady would have been able to play with Shaq?
I agree with that because it is more than just what it says on paper. Because we've seen a lot of teams and a lot of players put together that on paper should have done amazing things. And it's been the opposite, right? Because attitudes don't match. Work ethic doesn't match up. Freaking somebody thinks this, someone thinks pineapple belongs on pizza and everybody else tells them they're wrong. Like, I mean,
that's because they are.
Right, exactly. But there's a lot more that goes into it. And it really does come a lot down to chemistry when you're talking about, especially those like bigger ego, bigger name players. Is because, and we've even seen it with Team USA's, right? Is that it does not always work out very well when you put all of those guys together because they're all in their own mind the best.
Yep.
And you can only have one the best on a team. Like that's just unfortunately how it works. So that's one of those like hypothetical that you could be like, yeah, on a Wednesday in 1995, if the wind was blowing north to west and it was 82.5 degrees as the sun is setting on Manhattan Beach,
this
in the
X, Y, and Z would happen. Yes. Like, no, and that's the thing, with it is this just like, I get it. People hate to be defined by something that is so difficult, or not defined, but looked at as their career is defined by something that's so difficult to get. But that's why it means so much to a resume. It's because it's so difficult to get. Because I can't walk into Target tomorrow and go buy a Larry O'Brien trophy. Like, it just doesn't. You have to put in the work, and sometimes you get there.
I mean, some pawn shop somewhere you could probably buy a ring, though.
Probably, yeah. But you sometimes you work your whole career and you just never reach there. Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you're not great. It just means that you never
I
got
also
there.
think, especially in the context of him and Kobe, right?
Yeah.
I think there's something that gets lost sometimes when we're talking about the greatness of Kobe, is that when we talk about Kobe, yes, Kobe was talented. He was. Kobe would have been the first one to tell you, though, like, it was his work ethic that got him to where he was, not necessarily his talent. That's one of the reasons he butt heads with Allen Iverson, because he was one of those to say that pure talent wise, Allen Iverson, should he have had the work ethic that Kobe did, would have been a different player, right?
Yep.
But
Oh,
Kobe's work
100%.
ethic and his drive and his motivation to be the player that he was, those are intangibles. Those are things that you can't put a statistic on. Those are things that you cannot necessarily measure. But and so there's that whole part of it
And what the mentality
as
is
well.
what so I would say the mentality is what separates the talented from the great. You know, I was watching something, I believe it was Godfrey on Instagram earlier today, and he was talking about how like there's a huge, or I forget, it wasn't Godfrey, but I was watching this video where they were talking about there's a huge gap. Oh, Will Smith was talking about there's a huge gap between being talented at something and being great at it. And he brought up that exact point, that gap is the work ethic. Somebody can be naturally talented at something and they can do it and they can do it really well. But if they don't have that work ethic, odds are they're never going to be great. They're never going to be.
We're talking about practice.
You know, but it's just like, and so it's not a matter of it's not a matter of are these players great? Was T-Mac a great player? Oh yeah. Like I don't think anybody's ever denied him that. It's just Kobe had the better career. And does it make Kobe a better player? I wouldn't say it made him a better player, but I think that mentality difference showed in Kobe's resume versus T-Mac's. I don't know.
Even outside of that, right? Because basketball is a business, after all. Kobe was more marketable than T-Mac. He was. As far as sponsorships go, as far as who you want out there as the face of something, he just was more marketable. And part of that was the way he marketed his own self and the way that he presented himself. It for him, everything was always, it was about basketball. It wasn't about going out with everybody. It was about being at the gym between 3 and 5 in the morning, right? Jokes about people trying to get there before he got there and still couldn't get there before he got there. It's all of those things that he did a lot of those to make up for where he knew in the talent areas that maybe he wasn't as good pure talent as some of the other players. And damn if his work ethic didn't. I mean, Mamba mentality, they have copyrighted his mindset, you know, so. And that's coming from a Warriors fan who we were supposed to hate Kobe, but.
Hey, I grew respect for Kobe.
Yes.
I did hate him initially, but over time it was just like, dude, you're just that damn good. Like, I can't really hate you for being just that damn good. So, like, you still ain't Michael Jordan, but
we can hate you, but not for being that damn good. We can hate you for being a Laker. We can hate you for yeah.
And that was another thing that also helped with his imaging is the fact that he played in LA. And he was the next great Lakers star.
And that he played his entire career in LA. That's another thing, is he stayed in the same place for the entirety of his career.
Whether they were good, whether they were bad, whether they were in between, he stayed. And that's another mark. I hate to say it. People can criticize that all they want, but it's a mark of a great player. Loyalty is a mark of a great player.
5-1 in finals, or 5-2.
And I understand that, yes, it's easier to be loyal to a team that's winning than it is to a team that's losing. But that's what made Kobe and Jordan great, is even when their team wasn't exactly the number one team in the league. They still stuck with it.
I feel like they took that more as a challenge than a reason to jump ship, right?
Yep.
Like, and you could see that for Kobe, especially because Kobe had this chip on his shoulder that a lot of people, especially the beginning of his career, well, you wouldn't be who you are if you hadn't played with Shaq. So you can see that in how he played, especially after Shaq left, right? Is like he had some proving to do. He came into the league feeling like he had proving to do, unlike someone else we know who came into the league thinking he was the king,
Mr. King.
already, right?
Yeah.
So
All right.
there we go.
All right. So as we transition between NBA and NHL, I want to give a shout out to the Florida Panthers for winning back-to-back titles.
No one cares. We're in California. We don't like hockey here. Well, I mean, we imported it.
Yeah, I've been rooting for the Sharks for forever, and they ain't done a damn thing with it.
One Stanley Cup Finals in our lifetime so far. One Stanley Cup Finals, but it's okay. I'm a ride or die with my hometown team, so I'm gonna root for the Sharks to the day I die. But I'm probably gonna die without seeing them win a title. I'm pretty growing okay with that. Because I don't know, this Celebrini kid they got now and Will Smith that they drafted the last couple of top draft picks. We'll see. All right, so let's get some opinions here, guys. Good old Shador. Doing Shador things out there in Cleveland. Has been cited twice this month, not for DUIs, thank the Lord, or else we might have had a Henry Ruggs situation, but for traveling 101 mile per hour in like a 60 mile per hour zone.
Did they tow his car? Twice?
I don't know. Twice.
See, that's where, I mean, once at 101 and then once at maybe like 75, 80, I could have given him that. Yeah. But like, because we're at 101, let's be very clear that we're talking about some seriously like beyond reckless driving. That is you can have if he were in California, he could have had his car towed, his license suspended, all sorts of stuff for that. And I get that he's young, and I get that he's having fun. And in the line of work that I do and where I work and who I work with, I also can very much recognize that this young man's brain is not fully developed yet.
Yes.
So his impulse control and making the wisest decisions is not quite there yet, you know. But like y'all can, and I know it's a different kind of thing, but can y'all not learn from Ja Morant? Stop making the same stupid mistakes over and over and over again. Because if you make a mistake, okay, that's fine. I get it. You're a kid driving a fast car. You got a lot of money now, all of that. I get it. I absolutely get it. But you've now been cited for it, which means that you should tone it down a little bit. And guess what? If you really do want to drive that fast, which I imagine, I'm thinking Cleveland may have a problem with that in itself, because there's all sorts of safety clauses within their contracts and can't even ride a motorcycle. Some can't even play golf, right? Like, so we're talking, and because they're protecting their investment. That's what it's all about. Not because they're trying to control anybody's behavior. It's because they're trying to protect their investment. And so here you are being very unsafe. And I know it probably doesn't feel like that big of a deal because you weren't drinking and it's just driving fast and all of that. But like at some point that turns from an infraction into a misdemeanor. Not that that really matters. But then when you've been cited for it a second time within a matter of a short period of time, it's harder to defend you. Yeah. It really is, because then it's like, I mean, shit. I'll be honest, I got a ticket on my way home from visit last month. I got lucky because CHP said he clocked me at 86 and a 70, and he gave me 73 and a 70. So thank you, because I can pay my ticket, go to traffic court, and it won't mess me up.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Guess what? Guess what I did the entire drive home after that? Drove the fucking speed limit.
You ain't getting me twice in one night, Oscar.
Right.
No.
Absolutely. And the other part of it is when we're talking about driving like that, and I'm sure that we have all driven that fast at some point. I don't know
Close.
what time of day it was. I don't know what the road looked like that he was on, right?
Yeah.
But we're also talking about, you're not just, this is the same thing with DUIs, right? You're not just putting yourself at risk. You're putting other people at risk. Unnecessarily so. Dude, you've got money. I'm sure there are racetracks in Cleveland that would be happy to let you open it up on a track.
Yep.
Not that the Browns would want you to do that, safety wise, sir.
Yeah. But City Street
and I
definitely
mean,
is the place to be
but
doing
then
that, or even a highway.
On the book end of that, though, he's a kid doing kid shit under a microscope, and we're hearing about this because of who he was. If it was some other 23, 24, 25-year-old that you knew who wasn't an athlete, who wasn't anything, hearing about, well, their car and their vehicle would, their car would be been towed. They probably would have no license, any of that.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't be hearing about it. So that is one area where these kids do have to be mindful that the things that they do now are under a microscope, especially for him, given his situation. And I feel bad for him in that aspect, is that he's not going to be allowed to fuck up quietly. Like every other one of us has kind of been allowed to do.
Yeah.
But he chose that.
Yep.
That comes with the position that he's in.
Yep.
Slow down, sir.
Slow down. Slow your ass way down. Swab, any last words on it?
I think it's, a little bit of youth and maturity. I think he'll hopefully learn his lesson. I got a feeling Deion will be the next call because it's his news, because he was doing it. And, he had the terrible slide into the fifth round that most likely and realistically shouldn't have happened. But this will be the thing a lot of his detractors will point at and say, see, this is exactly why he slipped in the draft. But this is an easy thing for him to overcome. I don't think it'll be a major issue. I think it would be worse if he had been charged with a DUI or something else that's been involved other than just straight speeding. But I do agree with OMalley that it's time for Shador to go to a track, just make some time, get his little NASCAR Jones in, or in the off season, go to Germany like I did, hit the Autobahn. I got up to 160, that 101, that's some baby steps.
Yeah.
Sure. Sorry.
Yeah, do it where it's legal.
Yep. I'll say, all right, so that takes us on to our next NFL subject, which is, I don't know if y'all remember, he was drafted like number 14 by the Baltimore Ravens. Linebacker CJ Mosley is retiring from the NFL after being released by the Jets this preseason or this offseason. So, or not, yeah, the Jets just signed a 5-year, $86 million deal a few years back, or like 2 years back. He is. They have lost one. Well, say, yeah. So, he's retiring. He announced it on, I believe, X or Instagram earlier this week. So,
okay. Bye.
so there you go. Bye. Dang.
I didn't mean it mean or anything, but like I'm not a Ravens fan. I'm not a Jets fan. It's not really somebody who I feel like we've heard a lot about. So it's like, okay. I mean,
I believe he was on that
was it a
Ravens team
slow
that
news
beat the
day?
Niners.
Was it a slow news day? Is this where we're
That it
coming?
was. We're also
Oh,
looking
was he
at
on the Super Bowl team that beat the Niners? Is that why you're
for
bringing this
me,
up? Are you glad to
maybe
see him go because he beat your team in the Super Bowl? Is this
always.
personal? Is this why this
Terrell
is news on our
Suggs,
Okay, all right, I
Ray
get
Lewis,
it.
all them motherfuckers can go.
But, you know, freaking, yeah.
All right. Let's see. So we have last subject of the night is Jair Alexander. There we go. Jair Alexander is reuniting with Lamar Jackson. I guess they played together over in Louisville and joining the Ravens. The cornerback was released from Green Bay recently, like within the last week. I think that kind of helps the Ravens. Having another good corner is never a bad thing. Any thoughts, Swab, on the Ravens picking up Alexander for this upcoming season?
That's a great pickup for the Ravens. I think it'll definitely help bolster their defense. He's an all-pro level corner. Not sure exactly what happened in Green Bay. I'm really curious on that story to kind of come out, considering they're going to be a playoff, a playoff attending team. So I think they're a playoff finding team. So for him to go to the Ravens, that's and for him to get released and then end up on the Ravens is very curious. The Packers losses, the Ravens gain, and I think that definitely bolsters their chances at getting further or getting Lamar his first true run in the playoffs.
All right. And OMalley, any thoughts?
Okay. All right. Go. Yay. Woohoo. I mean, I feel like this has been a slow NFL cycle this week and in last week. Travis Hunter did get the full, like he made history with his deal and like 30 point something signing bonus up front. All of his money's guaranteed. He's the only non-quarterback, non-first, non-number one pick to get the full shebang.
Deal.
Yep. So,
Nice.
What
did he go? Didn't he go number 2?
He went number 2.
Jacksonville.
Yeah, he went to Jacksonville.
The only mistake was marrying that girl.
They've been together since high school.
Yeah, but they were getting dragged during college. It was all, I don't know if it was true. If it's not true, then it's good for him. But if it was true, I feel real bad for the kid.
I've heard that it wasn't true.
Yeah.
That a lot of it, yeah. I mean, who knows? We'll see. And no prenup, so I hope it wasn't true.
We could be seeing the 30th for 30, huh? The Travis story.
Or Dateline.
Yeah.
What was the name of that Carolina Panthers player?
Ray Caruth. I was just thinking.
Like, I don't like to laugh at tragic stuff like that, but dude, like that was something out of a comic book. Like, what? Like, how are you an NFL player? Well, I guess since you got the money to hire a hitman, like I ain't really got the money to hire a hitman, but still, man, like, wow. Yeah. Travis, we praying for you, bro.
Yes, we are.
I'm rooting for him. He's the only reason to watch Jacksonville.
And the crazy thing is out of that whole craziness that was Colorado and Deion's sons, Travis Hunter seems the most down to earth, like laid back, chill one out of all of them. Yeah. Like he does, even for his talent, does appear to have that humility and that humbleness that will take him very far.
Easy to root for.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
a root for
He
it.
does. Yeah, absolutely.
So I did want to ask you this, but unfortunately you weren't able to make it last week. How's your man feeling about that Devers trade? I know it don't put him on the level of the Dodgers, but the Giants making some moves to try to make this shit interesting.
So I don't know if I've said this before. I may have said this on here that he had me send my best friend a message telling her, because she's a Giants fan, that he's going to need her team to not suck this year because the Dodgers Giants rivalry is his favorite in all of baseball, and it's no fun when the Giants suck. Like, he actually would not mind them being in first because he wants them to be as high as possible before the Dodgers come in and just demoralize them. That's what he wants to see. I appreciated her response because she's a great team player, and she basically said, same. That's, I want that too. As far as the Giants being better, not succumbing to the Dodgers in the end. So he's actually one of those that he likes those things happening. He makes fun of the Giants all the time for not putting the money into the team that they should be.
But Posey seems to be committed to doing that.
Yeah. So anything for him, baseball is probably his favorite thing, which he turns into an 8-year-old little kid when he talks about baseball, and so it's a very endearing thing to watch, because it reminds me of watching the World Series and when they won, and I swear every single one of those men out there instantly turned into a 10-year-old boy, and that was to me the coolest part to watch out of all of it after that last pitch and everybody just lost it. So I give him that. He's one of those that he likes to see the teams be up to par and not win because somebody's not doing what they should. So, and he'd still tell you at the end of the day, it's not going to make a difference that the Giants are not. I mean, it's an odd year anyways. So, the Giants aren't really going to do anything. And they're going to do what they do year after year, even when they're going to dangle the hopes in front of their fans like this, just to crush them in the end. And that's the part he's looking forward to.
Swab, any final thoughts on the Devers trade?
It's a good move for them. It's good to see them finally go after a big priced player. Hadn't really heard too much about him as when he was with the Red Sox, other than the scuffle he had about changing positions. I guess he came with a change in the attitude to the Giants. So good for the Giants. I definitely like for them to get back to having a good rivalry with the Dodgers. The Dodgers look like the Death Star right now, and the Giants are in the role of, the resistance. So it's kind of good for them to get something in the barrel, so that way they can have a chance.
I will say this. It makes me sad because now the Giants are the only MLB team left in the Bay, and I've hated the Giants my entire life. So it's really hard for me to reconcile that with my love of the Bay. But I think that Devers will be a good pickup for them. I think that he'll make the late seasons run and the postseason interesting for the Giants fans. But I believe also that the Dodgers in general, especially now that they got Ohtani back pitching, are just the better team. Like people don't understand how much more dangerous that makes them.
He goes to the mound and then turns right around and goes to home plate to hit. Like, I mean, this is some craziness.
His first game back? Go ahead.
I've said this before, is that's one thing that I've had to say about the Dodgers, especially last year and with Ohtani and Mookie and all of that. They've definitely made baseball fun to watch again, and that is cool. Especially, years and years of watching our A's team be demolished by the ownership and everything. That it's nice to see a team whose ownership actually gives two halves a shit about the fans and winning, right? They're both important. And they kicked ice out of Dodger Stadium, so go for them on that. Any reports to the contrary are false. So, although I do think that they probably could have kicked down at least 10 million versus their 1 million, but it's still more.
But you can do a lot of stuff with $1 million. You can do a lot more with 10, but you can do a lot of stuff with $1 million.
Just give me 100.
Right, so just
100K. Nah, I don't even need 100 million. Just 100K could change my life. Not pay off my student loans because I owe more than that. But
see, for me, that would pay off my student loans plus leave me money for the other bills.
I have 2 master's degrees.
Yes. But last update on these finals, it looks like Oklahoma City is doing exactly what me and Swab were talking about off air, and they just wore them down. Indiana State did it for as long as they could. It looks like Oklahoma City's walking away with this for their first title ever, not brought to them by Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook, but brought to them by Chet Holmgren, SGA, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Lou Dort.
Now the question becomes, will Oklahoma City actually open up the damn checkbook to sign all of them and keep them all together?
That's
because that was the mistake they made with Durant and them.
I want an invitation to SGA's cookout because I want to see how things are with him and his cousin after they mopped the floor with them.
Yeah,
that was fun to watch, though. That was actually really fun to watch.
Oh man. This finals has been amazing. It came down to a game 7, which was something that I don't think anybody saw coming.
Game 7 and an injury.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which the
playoffs in general this year were kind of
entertaining.
Great. Yeah. Except in almost every key series, an injury took somebody out.
Changed the series.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Injuries are a part of the game, and either your backup step up or you go home.
Injuries are affecting next year too. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's always something that you kind of have to plan and play for. Yeah. It happens.
It's going to be interesting to see what the Warriors do trying to find a big this offseason, who they pick up, because it looks like Adams is going to be staying with the Rockets, so probably won't be him. With Durant coming in, he'll take less to stay with them probably now. So that won't be him, but it'll be nice to see. It'll be interesting to see what they're doing, especially with the Kuminga stuff. I saw a trade that was just ridiculous that had them giving away pods, a first-round draft pick, I think it was Moody and Kuminga for DeAndre Ayton. And I was like, we don't need a big that bad.
Yeah, not that bad. That's a lot.
Maybe for Kuminga, a second-round pick, and that's it.
Like give up Kuminga in a couple of seconds, or maybe
no offense to DeAndre Ayton, but bro, you ain't like a first-round draft pick and 5 players worth of player. Like you're just not anymore. So, but I would like to see them make a move for a big guy. We'll see who though. We'll see who.
Hey, well,
all right.
Start looking out for the parties in around 4th of July, right? Like, then they're gonna freaking pop out with some crazy freaking Giannis shit. We've now got Giannis. We pulled a coup. We got Giannis. We don't need anything else. You can have Kuminga. You can have this. You can have that. You can have the kitchen sink, the toilet, the shower. What do you want? We'll even throw in Jeannie Buss from the Lakers for you.
Trade her right there. All right. Well, we ran a little long today, so no opinion piece for this week. We'll shoot for next week. I do want to thank everybody that tapped in. Like I said, Saint, anybody else who tapped in on YouTube or Twitch. You can catch me next on Tuesday, playing at EA Sports college football with that guy over there. And next week, join us. We're going to have a new look. I'm looking into some integrative apps where we can do some sports trivia throughout the show next week, because it'll be our 1-year anniversary of when we became an affiliate with Twitch. So we'll be celebrating that on Cheap Pop and on the Classroom with a little trivia. It's pop culture trivia on Cheap Pop and then sports trivia here. So be sure to
Valkyries
tune
won
in.
again. Go Valkyries.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm more likely to go see a Valkyrie game than I am a Warriors game at these prices right now. But I do want to check out Chase Center. I haven't been there yet. But anyway, OMalley, since we're not doing an opinion piece, why don't you take us home?
Okay, well, this feels really appropriate because this is going to address two major things in LA right now. Fuck LeBron and fuck Ice.
Bingo, bango. Check y'all out next week. Peace.